I worked at my agency for 15 years. My record was spotless. Yet my wife filed a signed complaint accusing me of accepting 2 million yuan in bribes. The disciplinary inspection team investigated for 3 months. They could not find a single cent of wrongdoing. Once I was cleared, my agency's leaders held my hand and apologized. I said nothing. I turned and went home. Looking at my daughter's rosy little face, I suddenly recalled my wife's coldness over the years, and that cousin who often dropped by our home. The next day, I took my daughter to the hospital. The moment the test report came out, my hands began to tremble. Director Wang from the inspection team took my hand. His hand was dry and warm. "Chief Zhao, you've suffered a grave injustice." I looked at him without speaking. A document lay on the table, with its official red letterhead and black print, regarding Zhao Yi's alleged acceptance of 2 million yuan in bribes. Investigation concludes the report was unfounded. 3 months and 2 days. Every day, I was kept in a room smaller than 10 square meters. My 3 meals were brought to me. Twice a day, someone questioned me. They asked where every deposit came from, and where every expense had gone. I told them again and again. I told them I never took it. They did not believe me, yet somehow, they seemed to. Today, it was finally over. Director Wang personally walked me out of the office building. "As for your agency, I have spoken with your director Zhang. He said they will hold a small meeting for you, to restore your reputation." I nodded. "Go home and get some proper rest. Your wife has had it hard too." I stopped and looked at him. A flicker of embarrassment crossed his face. "Yes, my wife, Zhou, put duty before family. She reported me under her real name. She claimed that in the hidden compartment of my nightstand, I had hidden a certificate of deposit worth 2 million yuan. The inspectors went there. They pried open the compartment. It was empty. There was nothing inside. Zhou said she had seen it with her own eyes. The inspectors questioned me. I looked at them and said only this: I didn't take it. Now, I was cleared. Director Wang patted my shoulder and left. I stood in the sunlight, almost blinded by it. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was Director Zhang. "Zhao Yi, where are you? Let us welcome you back tonight." "No, Director Zhang. I just want to go home." There was a brief silence on the other end. "All right, your wife must be waiting for you too. Do not worry. I will make sure your work situation is handled." I hung up and went home. At the agency where I had gone 15 years without a mistake, because of this incident, I had become everyone's gossip. And the home I had lived in for 12 years, because of this incident, I could not truly go back to either. I hailed a cab and gave the driver my address. As the car moved, rows of tree shadows slipped backward outside. My mind was completely blank. Not until the car stopped below my building did I pay and get out. I entered the hallway. I took out my key, put it in the lock, and opened the door. "Mommy, a little higher." I took off my shoes and walked in. Zhou was holding up an airplane model, playing with our daughter, Zhao Anan. Anan sat on the sofa, her little legs kicking wildly as she giggled. When she saw me, she froze. "Daddy." Her voice was very soft, tinged with timid uncertainty. After 3 months, she had become distant from me. Zhou put down the model and stood. "You're back?" I looked at her. She had lost some weight. She looked as though she, too, had suffered some terrible injustice. I gave a quiet acknowledgement. Then I walked over and sat on the sofa. Anan poked her little head out from behind her. She peeked at me. Her rosy little face was so adorable. I used to love pinching her cheeks. But now, as I looked at that face, my heart was ice cold. "Have some water." She held a cup out to me, but I did not take it. "When did you find out I was coming back?" Director Wang called me this morning. Oh. The living room was silent. The television was on, but muted. A fruit platter sat on the table. The grapes in it were very fresh. Then I suddenly remembered something. The day they took me away was a Wednesday. That afternoon, Peng, my colleague whom Zhou called cousin, said he was coming over for dinner. He had been my senior at university. Later, we worked in the same government system. Our parents had known each other for years. They were on good terms. That was why Zhou called him cousin. He was unmarried, and he always liked coming to our home for free meals. After they took me away, did he come here? Has Peng been here lately? Zhou's body stiffened for an instant. It was slight, but I saw it. No, he has not. After what happened to you, how could he possibly have the nerve to come? Her eyes kept darting away. I said nothing. I picked up the remote and turned off the television. I stood. "I'm tired. I'm going to sleep for a while." I headed for the bedroom. Dinner is ready. Won't you eat something? I'm not hungry. I pushed open the bedroom door. The bed was neatly made, just as it had been before I left. On the nightstand, the professional books I had kept there had been replaced with fashion magazines. I pulled open the nightstand drawer. Inside were my watch and wallet. The hidden compartment had been pried apart. An ugly gap was left behind. I reached inside and felt around. It was empty. Zhou stood in the doorway, at a complete loss. Zhao, listen to me. Let me explain. That day, I lost my head. I turned to look at her. She was crying, tears falling one by one. I was under too much pressure. I was scared. Someone called and told me you'd taken money. They said you would get into trouble sooner or later. They told me to report you first, and said it might count in my favor. The lies she made up did not fit any of the 100 possibilities I had considered while under investigation. Her reasons were ridiculous. I watched her cry and felt absolutely nothing. 15 years of marriage. I thought I knew her well. Now I realized I did not know her at all. I looked at her, then past her, at Annan peeking out from the living room. Annan was 5 years old. She looked like Zhou, especially her eyes. Everyone used to say Annan was the perfect blend of the two of us. Her eyes were like her mother's. Her nose was like her father's. I looked at Annan's tiny nose. It was delicate and perky. Did it really look even a little like mine? A wild thought wormed its way into my mind. Once it surfaced, I could no longer suppress it. Like sulfuric acid, it burned away the last trace of warmth in my heart, leaving nothing behind. I walked over to Zhou. She was still crying. Stop crying. My voice was calm. She stared at me blankly. Tomorrow we're taking Annan to the hospital. The hospital is Annan sick. She was tense with alarm. She's not sick. I looked directly into her eyes. We're going for a test. The next morning, I woke up at 6. Zhou was still asleep beside me. Her brow was furrowed. She seemed to be sleeping restlessly. I watched her for a while, then got up and washed. The man in the mirror was gaunt and unrecognizable. His eyes looked unfamiliar. I shaved and changed clothes. At 7, I knocked on Annan's door. Annan, time to get up. There was no answer. I pushed the door open and went in. Annan was asleep beneath her Winnie the Pooh blanket, with only the top of her head showing. I woke her. She rubbed her eyes. When she saw it was me, she looked a little scared. Dad, get up. Dad's taking you out to play. Where are we going? Somewhere they need to draw blood. Annan's face immediately went pale. I don't want blood drawn. It hurts. She began rolling around the bed, throwing a tantrum. The noise woke Zhou. She rushed into the room. Zhao, what are you doing? Why are you acting crazy this early in the morning? She pulled Annan into her arms and glared at me. Don't you know Annan is afraid of needles? What test has to be done today? I watched the way she shielded our child, like an enraged mother hen. We're going today. It has to be today. The two of us faced off. Annan stood between us, looking from me to her. Then she burst into tears. I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want blood drawn. Zhou held her close, soothing her while shooting daggers at me. What exactly is this test? A routine checkup. I've been gone so long. I want to make sure our daughter is healthy. No, it was an airtight reason. Zhou bit her lip, unable to speak. I walked over and pulled Annan from her arms. Annan cried even harder. Either I take her, or all three of us go. You choose. She stared at me fiercely. A few seconds later, she gave in. I'll go change. On the way to the hospital, the air in the car was oppressive. I drove while Zhou and Annan sat in the back. Annan was still sniffling softly. Zhou soothed her the whole way, telling her stories and promising her the biggest ice cream after the test. I watched them in the rearview mirror. It was a warm scene. A good mother, an adorable daughter. If that thought had not come to me yesterday, I might have softened. I would have thought that, just back home, I should not treat them this way. But now, my heart was nothing but frozen ground. At the hospital, I registered immediately. At the Paternity Testing Center, when Zhou saw the words, Forensic Testing Center, her face changed. Zhao. Her voice trembled. I ignored her and led Annan inside. I don't want to go in. There are bad people in there. Zhou caught up, grabbing my arm. Zhao, what do you mean by this? You think Annan isn't your daughter? She did not speak loudly, but her voice was shrill. People in the hallway turned to look. I shook off her hand. Do you have something to hide? I asked coldly. Her face went pale. You bastard. How could you think that? NGŏN is your daughter. Your biological daughter. Just because I reported you. You're getting revenge on me like this? Humiliating me and our child like this. I watched her performance. Every expression, every tear, was perfectly timed. In the past, I would have surrendered already. But now, all I felt was disgust. A test will tell us, won't it? I took NGÓN's hand and refused to waste another word on her. A nurse came over. Are you here for a paternity test? Yes. Both the adult and child need blood drawn. When NGÓN heard that, she struggled even harder. Zhou rushed over, trying to take her. I used force to hold NGÓN still. Draw mine first. The needle pierced my arm, and blood flowed into the vial. I felt no pain. Then it was NGÓN's turn. Two nurses held her down. She sobbed her heart out. Dad, I hate you. Mom, save me. Zhou stood beside us, crying as she cursed me. Zhao, you're a monster. You'll regret this. I stared at the vial of blood drawn from NGÓN's arm. I felt completely hollow. After the blood draw and paperwork, the results would be ready in 7 business days. You can collect them yourself, or have them mailed. I'll collect them myself, I said, walking out of the testing center. Zhou held NGÓN, exhausted from crying, and looked at me as if I were her enemy. Zhao, we're finished. Let's wait for the results. I walked ahead toward the parking lot. She followed behind. Once home, she settled NGÓN down, then stormed into the study. I was at the computer, looking up lawyers. You owe me an explanation. She slammed the door and shouted at me. Why would you do this? Who has been whispering in your ear? Was it Peng? She actually mentioned Peng first. That surprised me. I looked up at her. You think it was him? Who else could it be? Who else comes to our home besides him? He must have told you something. It was as if she had grabbed a lifeline. Zhao, don't believe him. He's a petty man. He's had it out for me for a long time. I looked at her and suddenly found it laughable. I was locked up for 92 days. Not once did my wife consider what I was going through. My cousin never even called to check on me. Yet now she wanted to shift the blame onto him. What did he tell me? I played along and asked. She froze. He must have said terrible things about me. He said I was having an affair with another man, didn't he? She asked cautiously. I said nothing. Her face grew whiter and whiter. Zhao, you can't think that about me. We've been married for 15 years. What kind of person I am? Don't you know? I thought I did. I said, shutting down the computer. Until the results come out. We sleep in separate rooms. I stood up and walked out of the study. You take the master bedroom. I'll take the guest room. She stood frozen in place, trembling all over. What if the results prove NGÓN is your daughter? Zhao, how will you make this right then? I stopped. If she is, I'll get on my knees and apologize. I opened the guest room door, went in, and closed it behind me. Outside, I heard her let out a desperate wail. The 7 days waiting for the results felt like a century. Zhou and I lived under the same roof. Yet we were strangers. We did not speak. The housekeeper cooked our meals, then left as soon as she was done. Zhou and I ate at different times. NGÓN seemed to sense something too. She stopped making a fuss and spent most of her time alone in her room. Sometimes, as I passed her door, I could hear her talking to her doll. Mommy and Daddy won't talk to me anymore. It felt like a needle pierced my heart, but I did not stop walking. During those 7 days, I spent most of my time in the guest room. I went through every photo album from the past 12 years. Photo by photo, I watched NGÓN grow from a swaddled infant into a beautiful little girl. I found photos of myself as a child to compare. Not one of her features looked like mine. Then I found photos of Zhou. NGÓN's brows, eyes, mouth, and face shape were almost an exact copy of hers. I also found photos of Peng. He was my upperclassman in college. We had many photos together. I placed NGÓN's photo beside Peng's. That pert upturned nose. That slight upward curve at the corners of her mouth when she smiled. They were identical. My heart sank. Little by little, I began recalling every time Peng had come to my home. He always came on Friday nights, bringing fruit or toys, claiming they were for NGÓN. Whenever he came, Zhou was especially happy. She would cook a whole table of his favorite dishes herself. The 3 of us sat at the dinner table, and they always had endless things to talk about, from college memories to workplace gossip. Whenever I occasionally joined in, they would humor me briefly, then return to their own conversation. I used to think I was imagining things. I thought they were cousins. so it was natural for them to be close. I was busy with work, stressed out, and not much of a talker. It seemed good that some Peng could keep Zhou company. I was such a fool. I remembered the day Ann was born 5 years ago. I paced anxiously outside the delivery room. Sun Peng was there too. He said he happened to be passing the hospital, heard Zhou had given birth, and came to visit. When the nurse carried the baby out, I was the first to rush over. Sun Peng followed behind me. He looked at swaddled little Ann, and his eyes shone brighter than mine, her own father's. "Congratulations, Junior. Your daughter is beautiful." As he said it, he kept looking at Ann. He never looked at me once. I also remembered coming home early from work one day. When I opened the door, Sun Peng and Zhou were on the couch. They were sitting very close together. Zhou was crying. Sun Peng had his arm around her shoulders, comforting her. The moment they saw me, they sprang apart as if shocked. The Korean drama she was watching was just so moving. Yes, exactly. Women are always crying. I believed them. This fool believed them again and again. That report accusing me of taking a bribe of 2 million yuan. Of course, only those two could have devised something so vicious. They thought once I was locked up, I would never get out again. My house, my savings, my social standing, it would all naturally become theirs. They would not even need a divorce. A criminal's wife, raising a child born after his death, depending on his cousin to survive. What a touching story. I put away all the photos, then called a friend who worked as a private investigator. "I need you to investigate someone for me." "Who?" "Sun Peng, and my wife, Zhou." "What do you want to know?" "Their hotel records from 5 years ago until now. Their financial transactions. Everything." "Yi, are you sure?" "I'm sure." "All right. I'll have something for you in 3 days." After I hung up, I felt cold to the bone. The 7th day came. It was time to collect the report. I took leave from work. As I was leaving, Zhou blocked the door. She was dressed to go. "I'm coming with you." "No, I have to go. I need to see the results myself." She was agitated, as if she were certain the results would be what she wanted. Maybe she thought that if she acted righteous enough, she could change the facts. I did not refuse again. Neither of us spoke on the way. At the testing center, I gave them my name. A staff member handed me a manila envelope. It was thin, but heavy. So heavy I could barely hold it. Zhou tried to grab it, but I pulled away. I gripped the envelope. My fingertips ice cold. My hands were shaking, and I could not control them. Zhou saw it too. Scared, "Zhao Yi, it is not too late to regret this. Go home and apologize to me and our daughter. I'll pretend none of this ever happened." I ignored her. With trembling hands, I tore open the envelope. There was a sheet of paper inside. I pulled it out, and my eyes went straight to the bottom. Test conclusion. That line of black print was like a red-hot blade stabbing into my eyes. Based on the DNA analysis, Zhao Yi is excluded as Zhao Nn's biological father. Excluded, excluded, excluded. My mind buzzed, then went completely blank. The world fell silent. I could not hear what Zhou was saying. I could not even feel my own heartbeat. I was like a puppet with its soul drained away, standing there staring at that paper. I do not know how much time passed before Zhou's voice finally reached my ears. She seemed to be screaming, "Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The report is fake. You forged this report." She rushed to the counter, slamming her hands on the desk and screaming at the staff. Slowly, I folded the report, put it back in the envelope, then slipped it into my inner pocket, against my chest. It had been warm there, but that paper made it cold as iron. I turned around. Zhou was still making a scene. She looked like a madwoman. I walked over and grabbed her arm. "Zhao Yi, this is fake. Believe me, there has to be some mistake." I said only 2 words, "Go home." My voice was calm, so calm it did not sound like my own. I pulled her outside. She was not as strong as me. I dragged her all the way out of the hospital and shoved her into the car. I started the car and drove off. She sat in the passenger seat, still crying and saying it was impossible. "Zhao Yi, believe me, you are the only man I've ever had. Ann is your daughter. The hospital must have made a mistake." "Shut up." I cut her off. She froze. Maybe my tone frightened her. At last, the car fell silent, but I did not drive home. At an intersection, I turned around and headed somewhere else. "This is not the way home. Where are you taking me?" I did not answer. Half an hour later, The car stopped beneath an apartment building. I did not know this place, but I knew who lived here. This address was in the information my friend sent me. The apartment son Peng rented. Zhou Rui recognized it too. The blood drained from her face. Zhou Rui followed my gaze and saw that familiar apartment building. In an instant, every trace of color vanished from her face. I do not know this place. Zhao Yi, why did you bring me here? I want to go home. She became hysterical, reaching for the car door, but the doors were locked. I ignored her screaming, my voice still calm. Building 15, Unit 2, Apartment 1103. Sun Peng's place, right? With every word I spoke, her body jolted. When I gave the full address, it was as though all strength left her body. She slumped in her seat, her lips trembling, unable to say a word. How did you know? If I want to know something, I will find a way. He rented this place 2 months ago. You paid the rent. The money came from the allowance card your mother gave you. 6,000 yuan a month. 1 month's deposit and 3 months rent upfront. Your first payment was 36,000 yuan. This is only part of the information my investigator friend sent me. Every transaction was documented in black and white. Nothing but fear remained in Zhou Rui's eyes. She looked at me, as though I were a demon. You investigated me? When you reported me under your real name, you should have known this day would come. My phone vibrated. I picked it up and looked. It was from my friend, an encrypted compressed file. The title read, Everything You Asked. I answered the call. Yi, I sent you the files. Enough to make those 2 cheating bastards pay. Hotel records, financial transactions, and screenshots of some of their WeChat messages. I had someone recover them. They discuss how they plan to set you up. See for yourself. Thanks. I hung up. I turned my phone screen toward Zhou Rui and showed her the file name. She could not see what was inside, but she understood the title. Her last line of defense shattered. Zhao Yi, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Please forgive me this once. Let's go home, okay? We will not get divorced. For NN's sake. She cannot grow up without a father. I took the test report from my pocket and unfolded it before her. She looked down at the words, Zhao Yi has excluded us. Zhao NN's biological father. Her sobs stopped abruptly, as if someone had grabbed her by the throat. The car was deathly silent. Just then, a black Audi A6 drove into the parking lot. It stopped nearby. The door opened, and Sun Peng got out of the driver's seat. He was dressed casually, carrying several grocery bags filled with vegetables and meat. He was even humming a tune. He locked his car and looked up at a window in Building 15 with the warm smile of a man coming home. It was Apartment 1103. Zhou Rui saw him too. She watched that man, the grocery bags in his hands, and the satisfied smile on his face. Finally, she buried her head in her knees and let out a strangled, animal-like whimper. I drove home. Zhou Rui did not say another word the entire way. She curled up in the passenger seat, like a rag doll without a soul. When we got home, I parked the car. She did not get out of the car. She followed me into the building, then into the elevator. After we got out, I unlocked the door. Hearing us, Anne ran out of her room. Mom! She threw herself at Zhou Rui. Zhou Rui went rigid and flinched away. Anne grasped at empty air and froze where she stood. Her big eyes were full of confusion and hurt. She looked at Zhou Rui, then at me. Then she carefully backed into her room and closed the door. I changed my shoes and sat on the living room sofa. You sit too. Like a puppet on strings, Zhou Rui sat in the armchair across from me. I did not go to the study for my laptop. Instead, I turned on the smart television in the living room. I cast the contents of my phone onto the huge television screen. The first image was the DNA test report, black print on white paper. The conclusion was unmistakable. Let's discuss this first. Anne is not my daughter. So after the divorce, you will have full custody of her. I will not pay any child support. There will be no need for me to visit her, either. Zhou Rui swayed slightly, but said nothing. I pressed the next button. A table appeared on the screen. It was the asset inventory I had prepared. Second, property. This apartment is 180 square meters. I paid for it in full before we married. The deed bears my name alone. It is my premarital property. You have no claim to it. The car is worth 500,000 yuan. It is registered in my name, and I bought it with savings from before our marriage. It is also premarital property. You have no claim to that either. As for our savings, each of us keeps what is in our own name. I checked your accounts. Besides what your parents gave you, Son Peng has also, over the past 2 years, transferred you 320,000 yuan in installments. You used your mother's card to funnel the money, thinking I would never find it. That money proves you and he committed adultery. I will submit it in court, with every point I made. Zhou Rui's face grew a shade paler. I continued to the next page. One photograph after another appeared on the screen. They showed Son Peng and her outside various hotels, or embracing and kissing in residential parking lots. The dates and locations were clearly marked. Third reason for divorce: marital infidelity. A long-term improper relationship with another man. The evidence for that is conclusive. But most importantly, you, Zhou Rui, conspired with Son Peng to maliciously frame me and send me to prison, so you could seize all my assets. This is not just infidelity, it is a crime. The screen showed screenshots of WeChat messages. My husband seems to be getting suspicious. What do I do? What are you afraid of? Stick to the plan. Once he is locked up, you and NM will both be mine. That $1,000,000 certificate of deposit. Will he really believe it? Just insist that you saw it with your own eyes. The disciplinary inspectors would rather arrest the wrong person than let someone go. As long as they detain him, we win. They were the final blows that broke her. Zhou Rui stared at herself on the television screen, at those ugly exchanges with Son Peng. At last, she broke down. No, it was not like that. He forced me. Son Peng forced me to do it all. He said he loved me. He said you would treat me worse and worse. He said only he could make me happy. Reporting you was his idea too. He said that once you were finished, we could be together forever. She washed her hands of every bit of responsibility. Even now, she was still putting on an act. I turned off the television. Silence returned to the living room. I stood up, went to the study, and brought out the documents I had printed long ago. I slammed them onto the coffee table before her. One was a divorce agreement. The other was a voluntary waiver of property rights. Sign them. Sign. Tomorrow, we will go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and end this peacefully. I will not pursue criminal charges for your false accusation. I will leave you with the last shred of your dignity. You will leave with nothing. That is all. But if you do not sign all this evidence, including Anna's paternity test report, I will print 100 copies. One will go to the court. The rest will go to your parents, my parents, every relative in both our families, our workplaces, and Son Peng's workplace. I will make sure everyone knows what kind of woman you are, Zhou Rui, and what kind of man Son Peng is. Then you will lose more than money and a home. You will lose every shred of dignity you have as a person. Zhou Rui looked at the documents on the coffee table, then looked up at me. The venom in her eyes turned to pleading, until nothing remained but ash and despair. I got up early the next morning. Zhou Rui had not slept all night. She sat on the sofa like a lifeless statue. The 2 documents were still on the coffee table. She had not touched them. I did not press her. After washing up and getting dressed, I had more important things to do that day. Before leaving, I glanced at her. I am giving you 1 day to think it over. By tomorrow morning, I expect to see your signature. With that, I left home. I did not go to work. Instead, I drove straight to a law firm. I had found it online during those 7 days. It was home to the city's most renowned divorce lawyer, Zhang. I met with attorney Zhang at our scheduled time. He was in his 40s, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, and looked sharp and capable. Hello, Mr. Zhao. Attorney Zhang and I shook hands and took our seats. I did not waste words. I took a flash drive from my briefcase and placed it before him. Attorney Zhang, I want a divorce. It contains all the evidence. Attorney Zhang nodded. He inserted the flash drive into his computer. He opened the folders and reviewed them one by one. From the paternity report to the asset inventory, to those sorted photos and chat records, his expression shifted from calm to mild surprise, then finally to grave seriousness. He examined everything carefully. It took a full half hour. When he finished, he took off his glasses and rubbed between his brows. Mr. Zhao, to be honest, I have handled hundreds of divorce cases, but I have never seen anyone with evidence this devastating. You are the first. This evidence is enough to leave your wife utterly defenseless in court. She will certainly leave with nothing. Then I am retaining you. My demands are simple. First, finalize the divorce as soon as possible. Second, make sure she does not get a cent. Third, Ann's custody must go to her. I do not want any further connection to that child. No problem. Legally, for a child who is not biologically yours, you have no support obligation. As for the assets, The other party committed serious marital misconduct and intended to maliciously transfer and seize your property. Your premarital assets are completely secure. The division of marital assets will also strongly favor you. All right. We agreed on his legal fees and signed the contract. As I was about to leave, I asked him one final question. Attorney Zhang, legally speaking, what can I do? To that man? Attorney Zhang paused to consider. Adultery alone is difficult to punish under the law, but if you have conclusive evidence proving he participated in and orchestrated the false accusations against you, he can face criminal charges. However, based on these chat logs you provided, they were very careful. Much of it was agreed to verbally. Building a complete chain of evidence will be difficult. Rather than pursuing criminal proceedings, going after his workplace and reputation may be a more direct and effective blow. His words matched my thoughts exactly. I understand. Thank you, Attorney Zhang. I walked out of the law firm, feeling half the weight lift from my chest. The legal weapons for my revenge were ready. Now it was time for another front. Standing by the roadside, I took out my phone. I did not call Zhou. Instead, I called Director Zhang at my workplace. He answered quickly. Zhao, how has your rest been? Thank you for your concern, Director Zhang. I have recovered well. Director Zhang, when would be convenient? I would like to return to work as soon as possible. There was a brief pause on the other end. Then he laughed. Of course. You are welcome back anytime. I have had Xiaoli keep your office for you. She cleans it every day. Thank you, Director Zhang. Also, about the meeting you mentioned last time. To restore my reputation. Oh, right? Should we keep it small, or? Director Zhang, I think we should make it bigger. I watched the endless traffic flow past, my gaze sharpening. Ideally, every mid-level manager in the bureau should attend. After all, this matter had a major impact. I want more people to know I am innocent. I want more than a divorce. I want to reclaim everything I lost. My reputation, my position, and justice. I will get every last one back. The next morning, when I stepped out of the guest room, Zhou was still sitting on the sofa, without having moved all night. The two documents lay before her. On the final page of the divorce agreement, she had already signed her name. Her handwriting was crooked, as though it had taken all her strength. I walked over, picked up the documents and checked them. She had signed the property waiver as well. When she spoke, her voice was as raw as sandpaper. I picked up the other document and saw her signature and fingerprint. Good. I put the documents into my briefcase. Have your ID, household registration booklet, and marriage certificate ready. Meet me at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 9. I did not look at her again. I turned to leave. Zhao, she called after me. Is Annan really Sun Peng's daughter? There was actually a trace of doubt in her voice, and a trace of hope. I nearly laughed out loud. Even now, she was still clinging to fantasies. Or perhaps she was trying to find an excuse for herself, to prove she had not been deceiving me from the very beginning. That question is one you should ask Sun Peng. I opened the door and walked out. The sunshine was bright. I drove to the office. It was 8:30. Many colleagues had just arrived at work. When they saw me in the hallway, their expressions were complicated. There was sympathy and curiosity, and also distance. I ignored it all and headed straight for my office. The door was locked. I took out my key and opened it. Inside, it was spotless. Director Zhang had not lied to me. He really had Xiaoli clean it every day. I sat down and turned on my computer, then dealt with the backlog of emails. At 9:30, Director Zhang's secretary knocked on my door. Section Chief Zhao, the director would like you in the main conference room. All right. I stood up, straightened my collar, and followed her there. When I pushed open the conference room door, Director Zhang saw me from his seat at the head table and waved me over. Come, Zhao, sit here. He pointed to the seat beside him. I walked over and sat down. I could feel countless eyes behind me, like searchlights on my back. I could also see, in the conference room corner, Sun Peng sitting there. His head was lowered, too afraid to look at me. He was nothing like the man he had been when I was taken away that day. The meeting began. There was no needless small talk. Director Zhang went straight to the point. First, he briefly spoke about the importance of workplace discipline and conduct. Then he changed direction. Some time ago, an incident occurred at our bureau. Our colleague Zhao Yi was the target of a signed report, accused of financial misconduct. The conference room fell silent. The city's disciplinary commission took this matter very seriously. It formed a special task force and investigated Comrade Zhao Yi for 3 months. Director Zhang's voice was stern. We gathered everyone here today to officially announce the findings of that investigation after review. The allegation that Comrade Zhao Yi accepted a 2 million yuan bribe was completely fabricated. It was a malicious false accusation. The disciplinary commission has issued an official document clearing Comrade Zhao Yi's name and restoring his reputation. He set down the document and looked at me. Here, on behalf of the Bureau's leadership, I offer Comrade Zhao Yi my deepest apology. We failed to protect one of our own and allowed you to suffer such injustice. With that, he stood and gave me a deep bow. The room erupted in shock. Director Zhang, this is not your fault. It is not the Bureau's fault either. I immediately stood and steadied him. Director Zhang straightened and took my hand. Ha ha ha. What a fine colleague. He turned to the room and said, Comrade Zhao Yi is one of our Bureau's key professionals. For 15 years, he has worked tirelessly and remained incorruptible. This incident has caused both him and his family enormous harm. I hope everyone in our Bureau will take this as a warning and firmly support and trust our colleagues. Do not be misled by rumors. Applause broke out, scattered at first, then growing thunderous. I saw many colleagues looking at me, their sympathy turning into admiration. At that moment, my tarnished reputation shone again. Director Zhang asked me to say a few words. I stepped up to the microphone, looking over the sea of people below. My eyes finally settled on Sun Peng's pale face. Our eyes met for a second. As though he had been burned, he quickly lowered his head. I took the microphone, my voice clear and steady. Thank you for the organization's trust. Thank you to the leadership for your support. Over these past 3 months, I have thought about a great deal. As someone who has served this Bureau for 15 years, I have always believed one thing. An honest man has nothing to fear. I trusted the organization, and I trusted the law. I knew they would give me justice. Today, justice has come. I am cleared. But some things cannot simply be forgotten. My voice turned cold. This malicious false accusation was not only aimed at me. It was a provocation against our entire staff, and a trampling of organizational discipline. As for the vile coward hiding in the shadows, who tried to use despicable means to ruin another person's life, I paused, my gaze sharp as a blade, and swept it towards Sun Peng again. He bowed his head even lower, his shoulders trembling faintly. I hope the organization will investigate this to the very end and show no mercy. When I finished, I gave a deep bow to the panel and to my colleagues below. Thunderous applause filled the room. This time, everyone was applauding from the heart. After the meeting, my world became peaceful again. As I walked through the Bureau's halls, everyone I met greeted me first. Section Chief Zhao is back. Section Chief Zhao, you have suffered. Their faces carried just the right amount of concern and warmth, as if those 3 months of isolation and suspicion had never happened. I responded to each of them, my expression calm. I returned to my office. The moment I sat, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I answered it. Zhao Yi, I am at the tea house across from the Bureau. We need to talk. It was Sun Peng. His voice was heavy with exhaustion and fear. I have nothing to discuss with you. No. Please, just 10 minutes. His voice broke with tears. Fine. I hung up. Then I rose and slowly walked downstairs. There were not many people in the tea house. Sun Peng had chosen a booth in the farthest corner. When he saw me, it was as if he had seen a savior, yet also the devil himself. His expression was utterly conflicted. The tea in front of him had not been touched. I sat down, poured myself a cup of tea, and said, Talk. Brother Yi, no. Section Chief Zhao. He was incoherent. I heard everything you said at the meeting today. I truly know I was wrong. With a thud, he actually slid out of his seat, trying to kneel before me. I leaned back, avoiding him. Say what you came to say. Do not pull this act on me. The tea house server looked over, giving us a strange look. Sun Peng hurriedly scrambled up and sat properly again. Section Chief Zhao, that matter. The report against you. It truly was not my idea. It was Zhou Rui's. It was her, your wife. She insisted on doing it. She said only if you went to prison could she finally be free. He was putting on an act again. The exact same script Zhou Rui had used. Blame the other person. I watched him quietly without a word. My silence terrified him even more. It is true. I swear. I tried to stop her. I told her it was too risky, too despicable. But she would not listen. She was determined to destroy you. He raised his hand, as if swearing to heaven. Is that so? I asked. I took my phone from my briefcase. I did not unlock it. I simply turned the screen toward him. On the lock screen was a photo I had just set as the background. It showed him and Zhou Rui embracing and kissing outside that rental apartment. I had taken it from a video a friend sent me. High definition, crystal clear. Peng's eyes locked onto my phone screen. The color drained from his face even more completely than it had. In the conference room, his lips trembled. He tried to speak, but no sound came out. Do you want me to show you anything else? For example, your chat records. How you set me up. How you transferred the assets. How you plan to leave your cousin's husband penniless and make your cousin's husband rot in prison. Peng began to shake violently. Great beads of sweat streamed down his forehead. Or shall we talk about NGÓN? I delivered my final crushing blow. You like her a great deal, do you not? Every time you came to my home, you bought her the most expensive toys. The day she was born, you were more excited than I was. I am very curious. In what capacity? Did you care so much about my daughter? Stop, Peng finally broke down. He clutched his head in both hands, letting out a pained groan. Please, stop talking. I put away my phone and took a sip of tea. It had gone cold. Peng, we go back to college. I thought you were my friend, my family. My voice was quiet, but every word struck his heart like a hammer. You destroyed my 15-year marriage. You destroyed every bit of my faith and family. And you tried to destroy my whole life. Zhao Yi, I am not human. I am worse than an animal. He raised his head, his face streaked with tears. I leaned forward, drawing close to him, and spoke so only the two of us could hear. You have two options now. First, I give all the evidence to the disciplinary commission and to your bureau's leadership. You know the charge for falsely framing a public official. You know it well. Your fate will be 100 times worse than mine. Second, before dawn tomorrow, submit your resignation to your bureau. Then write a detailed confession, explaining how you conspired with Zhou Rui and how you plotted this step by step. Write down every detail. Sign it and give it to me. Once you have done those two things, you can get out of this city, and never appear before me again. I leaned back in my chair. Peng slumped in his seat. His face was ashen. He knew he had no choice. Compared to utter disgrace and prison, leaving with some dignity was his only lifeline. Leaving the tea house, I checked the time. It was 8:50. 10 minutes until our appointment. I drove unhurriedly toward the civil registry office and parked. I walked to the entrance. Zhou Rui was already waiting there. She wore a gray trench coat, her hair pinned up carelessly. She wore no makeup and looked pale and haggard. She carried a canvas bag, holding every document we needed that day. When she saw me, her eyes flickered away. She said nothing. I could not be bothered to speak either. Like to strangers waiting in line, we walked inside, one after the other. We took a number and waited in line. The entire process passed in silence. Couples came and went around us. Some arrived beaming to collect their marriage certificates. Others came grim-faced to file paperwork. In such a setting, our silence felt especially jarring. At last, our number was called. We went to the counter and sat down. Are you both divorcing voluntarily? Yes. Have you agreed on the division of property and child custody? We have agreed on everything. It is all clearly stated in the agreement. The clerk picked up our divorce agreement and quickly scanned it. When she saw that the wife voluntarily gave up all property, while the daughter born during the marriage would be raised solely by her, with no child support from the husband, she looked up and glanced at Zhou Rui in surprise. Zhou Rui lowered her head even further. The clerk did not ask further questions. It was someone else's family matter. Please fill these out. Silently, we each filled out the forms. I finished quickly. Name, Zhao Yi. Ethnicity, Han Chinese. In the reason for divorce section, I wrote only for words. Irreconcilable differences. I gave her one final shred of dignity. Fill these out, then take your photos. When the official seal came down with a thud on those two red divorce certificates, I saw Zhou Rui's body jolt sharply. It was all over. All done. I picked up my copy, stood, and walked away. Not a word of goodbye. Outside the civil registry office, the sunlight was blinding. It felt as though a crushing burden had lifted from my shoulders. Zhou Rui followed me out. Zhao Yi. I stopped and turned to look at her. This was our final conversation as husband and wife. Can I go back and pack my NNS things? You have 2 hours. I will wait downstairs. Back downstairs at home. I did not go up. I leaned against the car and lit a cigarette. It was my first cigarette in 3 months. Smoke curled around me. Yet my thoughts had never been clearer. Less than an hour later, Zhou came downstairs. She dragged 2 large suitcases, with NN beside her. The little girl clutched the hem of her coat and looked at me timidly. Her eyes were red. She had clearly been crying. I crushed out my cigarette and walked over. Give me the car keys. The family car was registered in her name, but I had paid for it. The agreement clearly stated it was mine. She took them from her bag and handed them to me. Where will you go now? Back to my mother's house. Son Peng transferred some money to me this morning, then blocked me. He said he was leaving the city. I felt nothing. This was the price she deserved to pay. Take care of yourself. Those were my final 4 words. I opened the car door and got in. I started the engine. The car drove out of the complex. In the rearview mirror, I watched them, mother and daughter, grow smaller and smaller, until they became a blurred dot. The first thing I did when I got home was call a locksmith. Hello, is this the locksmith? I need the locks changed. The highest grade locks for the entire house. Half an hour later, the locksmith arrived, listening to the drill whine and smelling machine oil. I knew the last trace in this home of anyone else had been erased. After seeing the locksmith out, I stood in the empty living room. At last, this place belonged entirely to me again. I took off my coat and went into the study. I poured myself a glass of whiskey. My phone vibrated. It was a file transfer notification. I opened it. It was from Son Peng. A Word document titled Confession. I opened it and read it word by word. It detailed how he had coveted my wife, how he came to suspect Ann was his daughter, how he had seduced Zhou step by step, and how he ultimately planned that vicious false accusation. It was written with heartfelt sincerity, full of bitter regret. After reading it, I saved it, then dragged the document into an encrypted folder. It was my final safeguard. Holding my glass, I went to the window. Outside, the city lights were coming on, windows glowing everywhere. The city was still alive with traffic, as if nothing had changed. But my world had been turned upside down, then rebuilt by my own hands. I took a sip. The fiery liquid slid down my throat, leaving a faint burn behind. I had won this war. A clean victory. A complete victory. Yet there was no wild joy in my heart, only a calm as deep as the ocean. My revenge was over. Tomorrow, the sun would rise as always. My new life was only beginning. The next day, I woke to an absolute silence. No noise from Ann getting up in the morning. No clattering from Zhou in the kitchen. Nor the cautious footsteps of the hourly cleaner. The entire 180 square meter home felt as empty as a vast echo chamber. I lay in bed, staring wide-eyed at the ceiling. For a long time, the tension I had felt during my revenge was gone. So was the euphoria of success. All that remained was the vast emptiness after the dust had settled. In half a month, I had cut clean through the mess, severing every rat and root from the past 15 years. Now I stood amid the cleared ruins. There were no longer any people or things around me that disgusted me, but there was nothing else, either. I got up and washed. Then I cooked myself a bowl of noodles. Plain noodles, nothing fancy, with only salt and a few drops of soy sauce. After eating, I washed the bowl spotless and returned it to the cupboard. Then I picked up my phone and called my mother. It rang for a long time before she answered. Hello, Yi. Mom, it is me. Are you all right? Did you have that meeting? Your office did not give you trouble, did they? The day I was taken away, word quickly reached my parents. The two of them were so worried they nearly fell ill. For the past 3 months, they had called in countless favors and begged countless people for help. Yet they could not even see me. I could imagine how they had endured it. I am fine, Mom. It is all over now. My office held a meeting yesterday. Director Zhang personally cleared my name. That is good. That is so good. My poor boy, you have suffered so much. Because of you, your father has gone half gray. My chest tightened. Where is Dad? He went to play chess at the park. I did not tell him you were calling. I was afraid he would get worked up again. Mom, I need to tell you something. I paused, choosing my words. Zhou and I divorced yesterday. The line instantly went silent. What did you say? Divorced? Why? Is it because she reported you? Yi, listen to your mother. A married couple should never let a quarrel last overnight. Maybe she just made a foolish mistake. I could not bring myself to tell my parents that An was not my biological daughter. I did not want my parents to know such a shameful truth. I was afraid they could not bear the shock. To them, An is their only granddaughter. They have treasured her for 5 years. Letting them learn the truth would be too cruel. She had been involved with another man for a long time. They planned the report against me together. They wanted me locked up, so they could be together. The line fell deathly silent again. This time, I could clearly hear my mother's ragged breathing. That bitch? How dare she? How has our Zhao family ever wronged her? You treated her so well. How could she do something so vile? It is over, Mom. We are divorced, and she left with nothing. From now on, we have no connection to her family. What about An? Who is An with? She is with her mother. How can that be? An is the Zhao family's granddaughter. She cannot stay with that kind of woman. Mom, I have made my decision. From now on, you and Dad should act as if you never had this granddaughter. After I said that, it felt as if a hand had clenched around my heart. It hurt, but a quick pain is better than lasting pain. My mother was silent on the other end. She was a smart woman. Perhaps she heard in my voice a deeper, unshakable resolve. She did not press me further. Mom understands. Ye, take good care of yourself. Whenever you miss home, come back. Yes, I know. After hanging up, I felt as though I had fought another battle. I sat on the couch for a long time, until sunlight streamed through the window, warming my face with a faint touch of warmth. That afternoon, I returned to the office. Director Zhang called me into his office. He personally made me tea. Zhao, have you settled everything at home? It is all settled. Thank you for your concern, Director Zhang. He nodded, then sighed. Zhou, I watched the two of you get married. I never thought it would come to this. Peng submitted his resignation yesterday morning. He said there was a family matter, and he had to return to his hometown. I understand. My face remained expressionless. Peng's written confession was locked in my desk drawer. For his own sake, he had better never let me see him again. Director Zhang looked at me, his eyes holding a trace of admiration and approval. Zhao, you recovered so quickly. That is good. After suffering such a grave injustice, you still kept your composure and handled every issue with grace and propriety. To be honest, I admire you. What happened this time was a disaster for you. But it was also a test. Then he changed the subject. The city is launching a smart city project. It requires coordination across several departments. It is a tough assignment. I recommended you to senior leadership. You will lead a special task force. My heart stirred. This was not merely a project. It was a signal, a sign that the Bureau intended to entrust me with greater responsibility. If you handle this project well, it will be crucial to your next career move. Director Zhang gave me a meaningful look. Well, do you have confidence? I stood up and solemnly nodded to Director Zhang. Yes. Preparations for the new project were overwhelming. I threw all my energy into it. Meetings, research, drafting plans, coordinating departments. Every day, I worked late before going home. This hectic pace was like medicine. It gave me no time to think about all that messy nonsense. It also made me feel that I had once again found my direction in life. My life seemed to be gradually getting back on track. Yet just when I thought I could finally leave the past behind, a phone call shattered that peace. It was my former mother-in-law. When I saw the number, I wanted to hang up immediately. But after hesitating, I answered. Zhao, you heartless bastard. Do you have no conscience? The moment I answered, she launched into a barrage of abuse. Look what you have done to our Zhou. You divorced her and left her without a cent. How can you be so cruel? She gave you a daughter. She slaved away for you all those years. And this is how you treat her? My former mother-in-law's voice was shrill, as if it could pierce my eardrums. I held the phone farther away and listened quietly. When she had exhausted herself from ranting and was gasping for breath, I put the phone back to my ear. Are you finished? You must give our family an explanation. You must compensate Zhou. She gets half the house, car, and savings. Otherwise, we will make a scene at your office. We will report you to the disciplinary commission. We will accuse you of seducing her, then abandoning her, of abandoning your wife and daughter. Is that so? Are you sure you want to know why I did this? There was a stunned pause on the other end. Is it not because she reported you? Was she not doing it for your own good? She was deceived. It seems Zhou Rui did not tell you the truth. I walked to the window and watched the traffic below. Then let me tell you two things. First, your daughter conspired with her lover, a man named Peng. They carefully planned to falsely accuse and frame me. Their goal was to send me to prison, so they could claim the right to seize all my assets. That was not a momentary lapse in judgment. It was a crime. Second, I paused, then spoke each word slowly. The child your daughter had with another man was passed off to me, and I raised her like a fool for 5 years. The granddaughter you held for 5 years has not a drop of Zhao blood in her. After I finished, the line went deathly silent. I could imagine that old woman's face on the other end. Was it shock, shame, or anger? I did not care. A full minute passed before a sharp thud came through the phone, as if her phone had fallen to the floor. Then the call disconnected. I stared at the darkened screen and let out a long breath. The last trouble in this world that might have come after me was finally gone. I opened my contacts. I found the groups labeled father-in-law and mother-in-law, then pressed delete. Every contact inside them was erased. From this day forward, our paths would never cross again. That evening, I was home alone. I made myself lavish dinner, for dishes and a soup. They were all dishes I used to love, but Zhou Rui thought they were too much trouble and had never been willing to make. I opened a bottle of red wine and poured myself a glass. I sat alone at the huge dining table and ate slowly. The house was quiet and empty, but for the first time, I did not feel lonely. It was a freedom and ease I had never known before. I no longer had to accommodate anyone. I no longer had to hide my feelings. I was simply myself, living for myself. After dinner, I thoroughly cleaned the house. Everything that bore traces of Zhou Rui and Nan was packed up and thrown into the trash collection area downstairs. Photo albums, toys, their clothes, and shoes. When I threw out the last garbage bag and straightened up, I felt incredibly light. Back home, I drew a hot bath. Lying in the tub, I even began planning how to renovate the house. I would replace the tacky furnishings with the minimalist style I like, and N's old bedroom would become my study and home gym. As I thought about it, I actually laughed. It was, in the past few months, my first genuine smile. Time flew by. Before I knew it, another month had passed. The Smart City project was progressing steadily. Under my leadership, the task force I led was exceptionally efficient, with outstanding results. City leaders commended us by name several times. My standing at work rose with it. The looks people gave me had changed from initial sympathy and curiosity to pure respect and admiration. No one gossiped behind my back about my family anymore. Work became my whole life, and I enjoyed it that way. One afternoon, I had just finished a coordination meeting when Director Zhang had his secretary summon me. When I entered his office, I sensed something different in the air. Several deputy directors were there as well. Zhao Yi, have a seat. Director Zhang pointed to the chair across from him, wearing that familiar, knowing smile. I had a pretty good idea what this was about, but I sat down without showing it. Zhao Yi, we asked you here today to announce an official decision. After deliberation by the Bureau leadership, and with the city's approval, you are appointed Deputy Director of our Bureau, overseeing operations and digital development. When he finished, he led the applause. The other deputy directors applauded as well, all smiling. Congratulations, Director Zhao. So young and capable, though I had expected it. When the moment truly arrived, my heartbeat still quickened. From a division chief falsely accused and at any moment, at risk of going to prison, to becoming part of the leadership team today, a deputy director, in just a short months. My life had been a roller coaster. Thank you for the organization's trust. Thank you, leaders. I stood up and gave everyone a deep bow. I made no rousing speech, only offered my most sincere thanks. The appointment document came through soon after. My office moved from a standard single office on the 3rd floor to the deputy director's office on the 5th floor. It was bigger and quieter. From the window of my new office, I could overlook most of the city below. The view was expansive, and so did my heart. After work that evening, I did not go straight home as usual. Instead, I drove aimlessly through the city. Eventually, I parked at a riverside park. I got out of the car and strolled slowly along the riverwalk. A breeze blew off the river, cool and faintly damp, brushing across my face. A sightseeing boat glided over the river, leaving long ripples behind it. Across the river was the city's business district. lined with towering buildings, their lights glittering, forming a dazzling skyline. I found a bench and sat down, watching it all, as scenes from the past few months flashed through my mind. The shock of being taken away, the suffocating pressure of interrogation, the collapse when I saw the paternity test report, the resolve of our final confrontation, the emptiness after divorce, and the peace I felt now. It had all felt like a bizarre dream. Now, I had awakened. The person I once thought would be by my side for life had become a stranger. The child I once believed carried on my bloodline had also vanished into the crowd. That home filled with betrayal and lies had been torn down and rebuilt by my own hands. I had lost some things, but gained others. For example, a complete awakening and a chance to be reborn. I did not know what my future would look like. Would I meet someone again and build a new family? I did not know, and I did not want to think about it. All I knew was this: from today on, I would make my life more extraordinary. I took out my phone and saw a message from a project team colleague, sent an hour earlier. It was the final version of a technical proposal. I opened the file and began reading it carefully. Night deepened, and the river wind grew colder, but my heart was filled with a warmth and brightness I had never known. The past was behind me. My new life was bathed in starlight, setting sail. Life after becoming deputy director was completely different. I had a dedicated driver and secretary. Documents requiring my review piled up like mountains every day. The meetings I attended had risen from the departmental level to the citywide level. Busyness became the rhythm of my life. This relentless pace was like a solid firewall, completely separating me from my past. I thought my days would continue like this, flowing peacefully onward in the current of work, until my mother called again. "Yi, have you been well lately?" There was a cautious, probing note in her voice. Ever since our last unpleasant call, we had not spoken for nearly a month. "I am fine, Mom. The project is going well. How are you and Dad doing?" I leaned back in my office chair, looking at the blue sky outside. "We are both fine. It is just..." She hesitated. "Yesterday, I went grocery shopping and ran into your former neighbor, Mrs. Lee, the one who lived across from Zhou Rui's family." My heart sank. I said nothing. She told me. "Zhou Rui is having a terrible time now. After she returned to her parents' home, her parents learned everything. They felt utterly humiliated. Her father has kept her locked at home, forbidding her to go out. He curses at anyone he meets. Her mother cries every day, asking what sin she had committed to raise a daughter like that." I listened quietly, without a trace of expression. "She deserved it," Mrs. Lee said. "The most pitiful one was the child, and at the sound of her name, my grip around the phone tightened instinctively. Her maternal grandparents rejected her all day long, calling her a burden and a bastard. Zhou Rui herself is lost in a daze and cannot take care of her. The child has grown so thin, and she does not speak all day. She just sits in a corner, clutching a doll. A few days ago, Mrs. Lee even heard her crying secretly in her room, asking her rag doll whether it had been bad, and whether that was why Daddy did not want her anymore. By then, my mother was speaking through tears. "Yi, Mom knows you cannot stand them, but the child is innocent. She is only 5. What could she possibly understand? When I think of how lively and adorable she used to be, and now..." "Mom," I cut her off sharply. My voice was cold as ice. I rose from my chair and walked to the window, looking down at the ant-like crowd below. That question, wasn't it bad? "Is that why Daddy does not want me anymore?" was like a red-hot steel needle, driving deep into the softest place in my heart. A sharp pain I had not felt in a long time. But I could not soften. I could not take even one step back. "This ends here. I have no relationship with them anymore. Whether they live or die has nothing to do with me. Do not ever again, in front of me, bring up anything about them. Yi, if you still acknowledge me as your son, then promise me." On the other end of the line, my mother was silent for a long time, followed by a restrained sigh. "I understand." I hung up. I stood by the window for a very long time. All I could see was Anun's little face, streaked with tears and full of confusion. I had thought she would be the most precious treasure of my life. I had held her and taught her to talk, taken her to the park, carried her on my shoulders, and listened to her giggle. Those warm memories had become poison blades, slicing my heart until it bled. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. When I opened them again, my eyes had regained their usual calm resolve. I picked up the project proposal from my desk, forcing my attention back to the dense text and charts. The past was dead. I could not let her shadow haunt my future again. The Smart City project entered its most difficult phase. Its central challenge was citywide, cross-department data security and integration. It was a technical challenge, and a management challenge as well. Our in-house technical team had limited capabilities. We had to bring in a top outside partner. After several rigorous rounds of bidding and selection, a leading domestic information security company, NGÓN Technology, won the bid. A week later, the two sides' first project meeting was held in our bureau's conference room. NGÓN Technology's team was young and full of energy. Their project lead was a woman named Zhou. She looked under 30, wearing a tailored black suit. Her long hair was neatly tied back. She wore light makeup, her eyes bright and sharp. She skipped the pointless pleasantries. After introducing herself, she got straight to the point. Halfway through the meeting, it was our turn to present our preliminary data architecture. My subordinate from the technical division, Director Lee, was speaking fluently at the front. "Excuse me, but I need to interrupt. Director Lee, regarding the bidirectional sandbox data exchange model you mentioned, we believe it has a fatal logical flaw." The conference room fell silent at once. "Ms. Zhou, this model draws on leading international practices. It has been validated through multiple rounds of review. There cannot possibly be. The problem is not the model itself, but its application. You overlook the differences between the systems used by different departments, as well as data cleansing and standardization processes where access privileges decay. Under your design, once malicious code bypasses the front-end firewall, it can exploit this privilege decay flaw to spread laterally through at least 70% of connected systems within 3 minutes, bringing the city's data systems to a standstill." She spoke quickly, but her reasoning was exceptionally clear. A barrage of technical terms and precise figures left Director Lee speechless. Fine beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. The atmosphere in the room turned awkward. Everyone looked at me, eager to see how this newly appointed deputy director would respond to this opening show of force. I looked at the confident, focused woman by the whiteboard. I felt no displeasure whatsoever. Instead, I felt a surge of admiration. Ms. Zhou is right. This is indeed one of our blind spots. Professionals should handle professional work. We are ready to hear NGÓN Technology's recommendations. My statement eased the tension in the room. Zhou glanced at me too, a flicker of barely noticeable surprise in her eyes. For the rest of the meeting, she commanded the room. Her proposed solution was airtight and brilliantly conceived. It not only addressed security risks we had missed, but even improved data processing efficiency. The meeting, scheduled to end at 5 in the afternoon, ran until 7 that evening. After the meeting, the technical staff from both sides immediately split into groups to revise the details under the new plan. Zhou and I stayed behind for a final review. Director Zhao, I did not expect you to be so open-minded. When it comes to technical matters, the most capable person should lead. There is no need to use rank to pressure people. You are more impressive than I expected. Likewise, to organize such a complex project so thoroughly in its early stages. Your management skills impress me too, Director Zhao. For the first time, we stepped away from the project and had a little personal conversation. My stomach growled at the worst possible moment. "Let me order some delivery. Is pizza okay?" "Sure. My treat. Consider it thanks for your support today, Director Zhao." There, in the empty conference room, we ate pizza and drank cola. We talked about so much, from the future of artificial intelligence to the challenges facing the big data industry. I discovered she was not only highly skilled, but exceptionally knowledgeable. Talking with her was a pleasure. That night, lying in bed at home, Zhou Rui's betrayal no longer filled my thoughts, nor Anan's tears. Instead, it was a vivid new presence, and our debates about algorithmic ethics. I realized that my world had, without my noticing, been touched by a new light. Our partnership with NGÓN Technology was even smoother than I had expected. Zhou's team displayed astonishing professionalism and dedication. Under her leadership, the project's toughest technical hurdles were overcome one by one. I spent more and more time with her. We held brief meetings almost every day and conducted an in-depth review every week. We stayed up late revising plans together and argued fiercely over a single technical detail until our faces flushed. She was capable and relentless. After meetings, I often saw her lean back in her chair, pinching the bridge of her nose, her face full of exhaustion. But the moment she threw herself into work, she sprang back into action like a soldier wound tight. In her, I saw a long-forgotten kind of pure passion, a passion for her work, pure, with no ulterior motives mixed in. That drew me to her. But I always kept a restrained, strictly professional relationship with her. A failed marriage was like an invisible scar, constantly reminding me not to trust anyone too easily, especially women. That noon, just after I finished lunch, I got a call from my friend Old Wang. He sounded excited, even a little gleeful at someone else's misfortune. Yi, guess what interesting news I found? Quit keeping me in suspense. It is about son Peng, a friend from my hometown. Ran into him by chance a couple of days ago. You would never guess what state he is in now. I said nothing, and listened quietly. That bastard plotted with your wife back then. But it was never about some damned love affair. He had been speculating in futures, and racked up a mountain of debt. Creditors were chasing him everywhere. What he wanted was your money, and your house. He used his relationship with Zhou Rui as a stepping stone, and used that foolish woman, Zhou Rui, as his weapon. That nonsense about the child being his, and them living happily together afterward, was all lies to deceive her. His only goal was to make her help him send you to prison without hesitation. Hearing that, I did not feel much of a ripple inside. I had already guessed most of it. After he packed up and fled your home, did he not go back to his hometown to lie low? But after only a few days, his creditors found him. Those people were not the forgiving kind. They broke his leg and held him in a cheap motel, demanding ransom from his family. How could a family like his possibly raise that much money? His parents begged the creditors again and again. They nearly got on their knees, but it did no good. Now comes the best part. Do you know how he finally got free? He took his own younger sister, a girl who had just started college, and practically sold her to that creditor as his mistress. He traded his sister's future for his own freedom. My breath caught for a second. Even a tiger would not harm its own cub. I had always thought son Peng was merely greedy and vicious, but I had not imagined his humanity had been extinguished to this extent. For himself, he could sacrifice anything, including his own family's happiness and dignity. This was the man Zhou Rui had fallen in love with. For a man like that, she destroyed our home and ruined her own life as well. How tragic and how absurd. Yi, are you still there? Hey, my friend sent me a photo. Want to see it? Send it over. My phone buzzed almost immediately. I opened the image. It was taken at a noisy, chaotic train station. Son Peng wore a cheap tracksuit, one leg in a cast, leaning on crutches. His face was bruised black and blue, his eyes frightened and empty. He was squeezed among a crowd of migrant workers, waiting to board an old green train bound for the south. The cousin who had once laughed and chatted freely in my home, my older cousin, always in a sharp suit, now looked like a beaten stray dog. No. Worse than a dog. I stared at that photo for a long time. I felt no thrill of revenge, nor the slightest sympathy. There was only barren indifference. You reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. He chose his own fate. With one tap of my finger, I hit delete. That photo, that name, and that unbearable past were erased from my world forever. The sun shone brightly outside. I rose to my feet, poured myself a cup of hot tea, and headed for the conference room. Su King and her team should be there by now. In this new life, more important battles awaited. I could not, and would not, look back. After being promoted to deputy director, my time was carved into countless tiny fragments, endless meetings, endless documents, and endless social obligations to manage. I was like a spinning top, whirling at full speed, never able to stop for even a moment. But this busyness was a release from me. It left me no time to dwell on the past, and made me feel my worth. No longer rested solely on a broken family. The Smart City project, driven by my team and Su King's working together, had successfully completed the first phase of system architecture and stress testing. It was an important milestone. By tradition, the Bureau was to hold a celebration dinner. The venue had already been chosen, the finest hotel in the city, but I vetoed the proposal at the last minute. I moved the dinner to somewhere near the office, an unassuming home-style restaurant. I did not invite many senior officials, only the core members of both project teams. Director Zhao, are you trying to save us money? It is not about saving money. At fancy hotels, the food is all about putting on a show. Here, you come for the warmth. Our teams have fought side by side for so long. We are practically family already. There is no need for empty formalities. My words instantly warmed the atmosphere. Those young Huanyu technology engineers relaxed as well. Su King sat beside me. She was not wearing a business suit that day, but a beige cashmere sweater. Her long hair fell loosely over her shoulders. She had lost some of her usual professional sharpness and gained a softer grace. Director Zhao, here's to you. You are the most unusual client I have ever worked with. What makes me unusual? You are less like a superior and more like a comrade in arms. With that, she tilted back her head and drained her glass. Her capacity for alcohol surprised me. Halfway through dinner, everyone had drunk a little too much, and the conversation gradually shifted from work to life. Director Zhao, you are so young and accomplished. Your wife must be beautiful, right? The moment he said it, the atmosphere at the table instantly froze. My secretary, Xiaoli, went pale. He was about to scold him, but I raised a hand to stop him. I picked up the bottle and poured myself a full glass. Then I stood. I do not have a wife. I was divorced not long ago. Everyone froze. The engineer was terrified, his face drained of color. But it is all right. It is in the past. With that, I drained my glass. Su King watched me silently the entire time. There was no curiosity in her eyes, nor pity, only a quiet, knowing calm. After dinner, everyone went their separate ways. Su King had drunk quite a bit too. Her cheeks were flushed, and she was slightly unsteady on her feet. I will take you home. No need to trouble yourself. Director Zhao, I can get a cab. Get in. My tone left no room for argument. She glanced at me and did not insist further. She opened the door and got into the passenger seat. The car was quiet. I turned on some music. It was gentle instrumental music. Why did you get divorced? She suddenly asked, breaking the silence. I had not expected her to be so direct. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Nothing. We were incompatible. I gave her the most dismissive excuse. She turned to the glittering nightscape beyond the window. She did not press further. My parents divorced when I was in college. My father had an affair with his secretary. My mother fought it for a long time. But in the end, she lost all hope and moved far away. She spoke as though it were someone else's story. Her tone as flat as if discussing the weather. From then on, I understood one thing. What was that? Even mountains can crumble. People can still walk away. In the end, you could only count on yourself. That is why I work myself to the bone. I want to become strong enough. So strong that I need no one else. She turned back to me. Her eyes shone startlingly bright in the night. In her eyes, I saw a reflection of myself. We were the same kind of people. We had been hurt by those closest to us, then used a hard shell to wrap ourselves in layer after layer. We arrived outside her apartment building. She unfastened her seatbelt. Thank you for bringing me home. You are welcome. She opened the door and got out. After taking 2 steps, she turned back. She bent down and smiled at me. Zhao Yi, when you smile, you actually look better than when you are wearing that stern expression. Then she turned and walked into the building without looking back. I sat in the car, watching her retreating figure disappear. I sat there, stunned for a long time. The frozen surface of the lake in my heart seemed to crack open with the tiniest fissure. After that night, the relationship between Su King and me underwent some subtle changes. We were still partners at work. When we discussed issues, we still argued until we were red in the face over differing views. But outside of work, there was an unspoken understanding between us. When I forgot to eat during meetings, she would quietly leave a sandwich on my desk. And after she worked late into the night, I would drive her home. We never spoke of each other's past, yet with every meeting of our eyes, we seemed to understand each other's scars. It felt like a cup of warm water in winter. Not hot, but warm enough to soothe the heart. My life seemed to be moving toward a new, brighter future. I almost believed that those unbearable memories had truly left me behind. Until that Saturday afternoon, I went to my parents' house for dinner. Afterward, my mother mysteriously pulled me aside. She insisted on handing me a photograph. She said it was the daughter of an old friend of hers, a civil servant too, and wanted me to meet her. I refused with a helpless laugh. When I left my parents' house, it was still early. I did not want to return directly to that empty home. So I drove to the city's largest Xinhua bookstore. I wanted to buy a few professional books on urban planning and management. The bookstore was crowded, filled with the quiet scent of books. I lost myself in the pleasure of searching for books, feeling utterly at ease. As I carried several thick books to the register, I passed through the children's section. A figure both familiar and strange suddenly came into view. It was Zhou. She was crouched before a bookshelf, seemingly looking for a book. She was painfully thin, so gaunt she barely looked like herself. Her once meticulously styled hair was now tied back carelessly, revealing a pale, haggard face. She wore a faded coat worn thin from washing. Nothing remained of her once pampered appearance. My gaze shifted from her to the space beside her. A tiny figure clutched a cloth doll missing an arm and sat quietly on the floor. It wasn't Anne. She was thin too. Her little face had lost its former rosy glow and looked waxy and yellow. Those eyes that had once sparkled like black grapes now seemed covered in a layer of ash, dull and lifeless. She simply sat there in silence, neither crying nor making a fuss, like a doll forgotten by the world. At that moment, it felt as if an invisible hand had gripped my heart viciously, stopping it dead. Everything my mother had said, every scene Annie Lee had described, turned into sharp, tangible blades. One by one, slowly flaying my nerves raw, I instinctively took a step back and hid behind a tall bookshelf. As I watched them, even breathing became difficult. Zhou finally found a book. It was a thin, discounted fairy tale book. She stood up and gently tugged at Anne, we are going home. Her voice was weary and hoarse. Anne did not move. She only lifted her head and looked at her blankly. Zhou sighed and bent down to pick her up. Just then, Anne's gaze passed over Zhou's shoulder, through a gap in the shelves, and found me. Our eyes met through the gap between the shelves. In that instant, time seemed to stop. Her eyes were blank at first, then confused, then cautiously hopeful, but only faintly in touch with fear. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The little girl who once happily threw herself into my arms, calling out, "Daddy," now only looked at me from afar, with timid, fearful eyes, as if she were trying to confirm whether the man before her was only an illusion. Zhou also noticed something was wrong with her daughter. Following Anne's gaze, she turned and saw me. Her face suddenly went deathly pale. Terror, shame, and humiliation. Countless emotions tangled across her face. Like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, she snatched Anne into her arms, using the child's body to hide her face, and practically fled in panic. She staggered through the crowd and vanished through the bookstore exit. I stood frozen in place. The heavy professional books in my arms now felt weightless. My hands shook. My heart ached. Not for Zhou. That woman was not worth another feeling from me. It was for that child, caught in the filthy struggles of the adult world, innocent and pitiful. The way she had looked at me was like a rusted key, forcing open memories I had sealed away long ago. I could almost see again how she used to act in my arms, hear her babbling as she learned to talk, and feel her soft little hand clasping my finger, warm against my skin. The warmth I had deliberately forgotten had now become a bone-deep chill. I put the books back on the shelf and fled the bookstore. Once inside my car, I shut the door, blocking out every sound from outside. I slumped over the steering wheel and closed my eyes. Yet in the darkness, Anne's gaze grew clearer and clearer. It held confusion, fear, and a flicker of desperate grief at being abandoned. I thought I had won. I thought I had crushed every enemy beneath my feet. I thought nothing could hurt me anymore. But only then did I realize that in this war, there had been another victim, and I had pushed her into the abyss myself. That chance encounter at the bookstore was like a stone tossed into a still lake, sending ripples through my heart that would not fade. My emotions were inevitably affected. The next day was Monday. At the regular project meeting, I was distracted the entire time. Zhou presented the latest technical progress. Several times she looked to me for my opinion. Each time, I only gave a vague hum, or said, "You decide." My unusual behavior was obvious to everyone. After the meeting, Zhou did not leave right away. She came over to me and set a hot coffee in front of me. "You are not yourself today. Did something happen?" I took a sip of coffee. It was bitter. "It is nothing. I did not rest well last night." Zhou gave me a long look, but did not expose my lie. If there is any problem with the project, you can come to me anytime. But if it is a personal issue, I hope you get yourself together soon. I need a partner who is giving 100%. Her words were blunt, almost cold-hearted. But for some reason, they made me feel relieved. More than cautious sympathy and comfort, I needed this kind of rational reminder. I understand. I nodded. That day, I forced myself to pour all my energy into work. I reviewed mountains of documents, settled coordination disputes between 3 departments, and inspected the progress on the server room. I wanted to numb myself with work. But late at night, when all was quiet, NGÔN's gaze would rise vividly in my mind again. That evening, I worked late alone in my office, checking the final technical document. There was a soft knock at the door. I looked up and saw Zhou enter. Zhou had not left yet either. Still not done. Almost. Just one last file. She said nothing else. She sat in the chair across from me, took out her laptop, and quietly worked on her own tasks. Neither of us disturbed the other. Only the crisp tapping of keyboards filled the office. Yet that silent companionship strangely calmed my heart. An hour later, I had finished everything. I closed my laptop and let out a long breath. Come on, I will take you home. Okay. On the way home, the same soothing instrumental music played in the car. As we waited at a red light at an intersection, I suddenly found myself speaking. I saw my ex-wife and that child yesterday. The moment I said it, even I was surprised. I had thought these things would stay buried inside me forever. Zhou turned to me and looked at me quietly. There was no surprise, nor did she press me for details. She listened with endless patience. She is not doing well. Neither is the child. When I saw the way that child looked at me, I could not go on. That complicated feeling, mixed with guilt, heartache, and helplessness, tightened my throat. The light changed to green. I started the car and drove on. You feel sorry for that child? I do not know. Rationally, I know she is not my daughter. I did not cause her tragedy. But emotionally, I cannot forget. I raised her for 5 years. Zhao, you are not a saint. You are only human. People have feelings. They have soft hearts, they suffer. There is no shame in that. I used to hate my father too. I thought he destroyed my family and ruined my mother's life. I swore I would never forgive him. Until 2 years ago, when he became seriously ill. That woman took his money and ran. He lay alone in the hospital, abandoned and helpless. I went to see him. When I saw how old he had become, I suddenly realized I did not hate him as much anymore. I only felt sorry for him. There are things we cannot change. There are people we are destined to let down. All we can do is accept it all and keep moving forward. Her words were like a gentle medicine, slowly smoothing the wrinkles in my heart. Yes, I could not change the past, nor could I pay for someone else's mistakes. All I could do was remain true to myself and walk the road ahead with resolve. The car stopped below her building. This time, she did not unfasten her seat belt right away. The car was quiet for a long time. Zhao, if you truly cannot let go of that child, maybe you can do something for her. She smiled at me when she finished. Good night. Watching her walk upstairs, I sat in the car, without starting the engine for a long time. Zhou's words opened a window for me. A window leading to freedom, to making peace with myself. Maybe I really could do something. Not for Zhou, nor for that mistaken past, but only for that child. The child who called me dad for 5 years, so that in her bleak life, she could see a glimmer of light. I took out my phone and called my detective friend, Old Wang. Old Wang, I need a favor. I called Old Wang. It was late and quiet. His voice was still sleepy. But when he heard it was me, he was instantly alert. Yi, it is late. What happened? Nothing. I need your help with something. I leaned back in my office chair. watching the city's brilliant lights outside the window, my voice calmer than ever. I want to anonymously support a child. There was a brief silence on the other end. Old Wang was a smart man. He immediately guessed who I meant. Have you thought this through? He asked seriously. I have. I looked at my hands. Those hands had held that child countless times. But now they could only do something for her in secret. I do not want her life to be completely ruined by adults' mistakes. I understand what you mean. Old Wang said after a moment's thought. We cannot give them money directly. Zhou Rui's whole family would do anything for money. Once the money reaches them, they will not spend a cent on the child. They will only use it to cover their own debts. That is what I thought too. That is why I came to you. You have connections. Help me find a foolproof way. Old Wang thought for a long time. There is a way. He said, we could set up a dedicated education trust fund and have a reputable law firm administer it. The money would remain separate from their household and be overseen by attorneys. The fund's sole beneficiary would be the child, Zhao and. The funds would be strictly limited to her education, medical care, and basic living needs. The proposal was exactly what I wanted. Tuition and tutoring fees, for example, could be paid directly to schools and programs by the law firm. Medical costs could be reimbursed with hospital receipts. Each month, living expenses could be provided as aid from a charitable donor, through community workers or teachers at the child's school, in the form of goods, such as clothes, food, and school supplies delivered directly to the child. That way, we can ensure as much as possible that the money is truly spent on the child. Old Wang's plan was meticulous and thorough. It erased all my concerns. That is a good plan, I said. The beneficiary's guardian, Zhou Rui, will have only the right to be informed, not the right to control any of it, and make her sign an agreement. If the child is abused, or her basic needs are not met, the foundation has the right, through legal means, to change the child's legal guardianship. Call it selfishness on my part. I am giving them money, so they will take good care of the child. If they cannot do that, I will not hesitate to use legal means to make them pay a far steeper price. No problem. We can put all of that in the trust agreement. Old Wang agreed without hesitation. As for the donor's identity, we will use the name of a fictional Starlight Charity Foundation. No one will ever trace it back to you. Good, let's do it. Contact the lawyer for me as soon as possible. For the initial funding, I will transfer you 5 million yuan first. The number startled Old Wang. Yi, is that too much? It does not take that much to raise a child. It is not too much. I looked out the window, my gaze distant. I had originally thought this money would be her dowry. Now, I will give it to her in advance. This is all I can do for her. In this lifetime, after I hung up, it felt as though a huge weight had lifted from my heart. I could no longer love her as her father, but at least I could use what I had to hold an umbrella over her, so she would not be so helpless in the storms ahead. It was a release and a reconciliation with myself. I picked up my phone, found my chat with Su King, and sent her 2 words. Thank you. She replied quickly, with 2 words of her own, good night. Looking at those words, the corners of my mouth rose without my knowing. I knew that the frozen lake inside my heart was slowly thawing. Even the night beyond the window seemed gentler. Once an situation was settled, I felt completely at ease. Handling matters at work became easier as well. Su King and I worked together with growing ease. Our relationship, like the project, moved steadily forward. On weekends, we would go hiking together, watching the clouds drift from the mountaintop. As we spoke of our plans for the future, she wanted to create an artificial intelligence, a product that could truly change the world. And I hoped to turn the city under my care into a place that was safer, more convenient, and more like home. On rainy afternoons, we would also find a quiet cafe and read side by side. Occasionally, we would look up and smile at each other. Without a word, we understood the peace in each other's eyes. I found that when I was with her, I did not need to pretend or go out of my way to please her. We were 2 interesting souls, drawn to each other and bound by mutual respect. That day, the first phase of the project ended perfectly. To celebrate and to relax, Su King suggested that our 2 teams take a team-building trip to the outskirts. I readily agreed. The retreat was held at A scenic resort nestled among mountains and water. During the day, everyone played outdoor team games and had a no-holds-barred water fight. Even I, the usually stern deputy director, was drenched by the engineers' water guns. I was not angry. Instead, I laughed and played right alongside them. Zhou stood not far away, watching my bedraggled state. Her eyes curved with her smile, like a crescent moon. That evening, we had a barbecue buffet. Everyone gathered around the bonfire, drinking beer and singing songs. The atmosphere was lively and joyous. I sat beside the bonfire, watching the young, vibrant faces around me. A long-forgotten warmth filled my heart. Life was not only betrayal and schemes, but also this kind of simple, pure joy. Zhou came over with 2 beers and sat beside me. She handed me one. "You're very different today." "Am I?" "Yes. You've smiled more today than you did in the past 3 months combined." Her eyes shone brightly in the firelight. "Because I think I found a new way to live." We said nothing more. We simply drank in silence, watching the bonfire before us and listening to the singing in the distance. I did not know how much time had passed. When my phone rang, it was my mother. I walked to a quiet corner and answered. I hope I'm not disturbing you." "No, Mom. What's wrong?" "I just wanted to tell you. Something seems to have changed with Zhou Rui's family. Annie Lee told me that some time ago, someone claiming to be a lawyer went to see Zhou Rui's parents. He said the Starlight Foundation would provide dedicated support for Anne. They not only sent the child to the best bilingual preschool in the city, but also hired a counselor to counsel her every week. I listened quietly. At first, her parents thought it was a scam, that someone was trying to cheat them out of money. But then they realized they were not being asked for a cent. They were even being given money. They were thrilled. Now their attitude toward Anne has completely changed. They treat her like a precious treasure every day, afraid their little cash cow might get away. And Anne has become much more cheerful too. Her teacher says she has made new friends at preschool and even volunteered to perform on stage. My mother let out a long sigh on the other end. I do not know what kind soul is doing all this, but at least the child is doing well now. That puts my mind a little more at ease. That's good. My voice was calm. After hanging up, I looked up at the stars. They were bright and countless, just like Anne's eyes. I felt the last lingering shadow weighing on my heart finally fade away. I turned and walked back to the bonfire. Zhou was still waiting for me. "Things at home?" "Yes, it's all settled." I looked into her eyes. They seemed to hold a brilliant sky full of stars. A sudden impulse seized me. I wanted to pull her into my arms, but I held myself back. Some things needed a more fitting moment, and I believed that moment was not far away. After more than a year of grueling work, the Smart City project finally reached its triumphant full launch. The city government held a grand press conference for the occasion. As the project's overall lead, I stood beneath the spotlights, introducing it to media outlets and guests from across the country. It was the achievement born of countless people's hard work. I saw Director Zhang's gratified gaze below the stage. I saw my colleagues' proud smiles. And I saw Zhou, seated in the front row. She was watching me intently. Her eyes held admiration and pride, and a feeling only I could understand, a deep affection. The press conference was a complete success. At the celebration banquet that night, the mayor attended in person, lavishing praise on me. Before everyone, he promised that the next, even more important, urban development project would also be led by me. I became the center of attention. Applause, praise, and congratulations washed over me like a tide. I answered each one with a smile, yet my heart remained utterly calm. I had earned this. After enduring betrayal like a living hell, step by step, I built this empire for myself with my own hands. After the banquet, I politely declined every further invitation and left the hotel with Zhou. The night breeze was cool, clearing away the haze of alcohol. We did not take the car. Instead, we walked side by side along the tree-lined road outside the hotel. Congratulations, Director Zhao. No, I should call you Zhao, the hero of the hour. Congratulations to you too. Without you and your team, this project would never have made it this far. The remaining payment for the contract will arrive tomorrow, and for every member of your team, their bonuses will be doubled, paid from my own pocket. Director Zhao, you really do have deep pockets. We walked and talked, the mood light and pleasant. Just as we were about to reach the parking lot, a frail figure suddenly rushed out of the shadows by the roadside and blocked our path. It was Zhou Rui, She wore old, ill-fitting clothes, her face deathly pale. Her eyes were fixed on me. They held despair and the madness of someone with nothing left to lose. Zhou King instinctively stepped closer to me, her gaze turning wary. I gently patted her hand, telling her not to worry. Then I looked at Zhou Rui. What is it? My voice was as cold as ice in December. Zhao Yi. Zhou Rui's voice was terribly hoarse. She glanced at Zhou King beside me. Jealousy and spite flashed in her eyes. But she turned back to me and pleaded. Lend me some money. No, just give me some money. Why? Anan is sick. She's very sick. The doctor says she needs surgery, and it will cost a fortune. My family is already broke. The little money you gave me was taken by my parents long ago to pay off my brother's gambling debts. Zhao Yi, I'm begging you, for the sake of the marriage we once had, and for the 5 years Anan called you dad, please save her. She is innocent. As she spoke, she moved to kneel. I watched her clumsy performance, without the slightest stir in my heart. Every week, the Starlight Foundation's supervising lawyer sent me a report on Anan's condition. I knew that child was healthy now, and happy. Every word Zhou Rui said was a lie. She had probably seen in the news how successful I had become, and seen an exceptional woman like Zhou King at my side. She could not accept it. She was jealous. She was using the child as her last bargaining chip, hoping to squeeze something more from me. Or perhaps she simply wanted to make trouble for me and my new life. In the past, I might have flown into a rage. I would have exposed and humiliated her without mercy. But now, looking at this woman before me, whose soul had been twisted by jealousy and greed, I felt only pity. Zhou Rui, I've told you before, there is no relationship between us anymore. As for Anan's medical care, I made arrangements long ago. Attorney Wang from the Starlight Foundation should have already sent you the relevant healthcare coverage agreement, and it has top-tier lifetime health insurance. No matter what illness she has, the foundation will cover every expense. You only need to take her to a designated hospital. You will not even need to sign anything. I watched her eyes widen in shock, then added word by word. You came to me today, only to use the child as an excuse, to demand more money. Let me make this clear. It will not happen. From the moment you falsely accused me, you should have known. For the rest of your life, do not expect to ever get another cent from me. If you truly care about the child, make good use of the resources the foundation gives you to raise her to adulthood. If you dare use the child as a bargaining chip again, or try anything you should not, I have plenty of ways to strip you of custody of her. My words were like icy blades, cutting off her last shred of hope. She collapsed to the ground, her face ashen. She could not utter another word. I did not spare her another glance. I turned around and naturally took Zhou King's hand. Her hand was warm. She squeezed mine in return and gave me a reassuring smile. Let's go home. Okay. Hand in hand, we walked beneath the city's dazzling lights, toward our car, and toward our shared new future. Behind me, the woman who had once destroyed my entire world had been